Manhood, brought to you in part by Lucozade and Solomon Bespoke.
This is Manhood. Thank you for staying with us. And I'd like to say from the start, we're just a few men talking on behalf of all men. But today there's an exception, and you'll see why in a moment. But we're talking about the power of partnership, or the leaky ship in certain cases. But in this case today, the guest that we have, the power of partnership. So we're going to go straight into it. To my right, Johan Seaudike, behavior change consultant. To his right, Kineta James. Yes, we've once again invited a young woman. And we'll hear why in a short. And to her right, we have Anil James, husband. So this is the partnership that we're talking about here today, and a successful one at that. But there is, in all partnerships, there's leaky ships. And leaky ships. It's, not everything is perfect.
Okay.
Right? And depends the lens that you're looking at. But you guys have managed to make it work. And I want to talk throughout this particular episode about, love, loss, and laughter. But also, what is that essence that makes your relationship work? And let's talk about relationships on the whole, the ones that are not, and why some of those things may not work. You have anything you want to? Because I just feel sometimes, you just feel your hands are just kind of piercing, just watching.
Well, we can start with a premise first to define exactly, if everybody can define what is a partnership to them, right? So for me, a partnership, I'll make it simple, is two people or two or more people on the same page. Mm-hmm. I'll start with that.
Simple as that.
Thoughts.
For real.
I just see it in another way.
One accord, one direction, one aim, and we working towards a goal. That's it.
That's it.
All right.
So, as you said that, I'm going to be the devil's advocate here. So yes, that's a partnership dependent on what the project is. So if we talk about relationship, then yes, but what is the common goal? But I always remember listening to Simon Sinek at one point, and he spoke about what is your why? And in asking what is your why, he said, if I'm joining a riot, I know what you stand against, but I don't know what you stand for. Because at that point, I know you stand against this because we're all here with the same goal to riot against this, but I don't know what is your why as to why you are here rioting. You understand? And so in a partnership, they're all in partnership, they're all in tandem, they all are doing like a team effort, so to speak, but everyone has an individual objective. Mm. So even in a partnership or a relationship, as you can see, some people, a man might just want comfort and to come home to a place of peace, whereas a woman might think, you know what, you're offering me financial stability. So, but it's a partnership.
Okay,
right.
For real.
Right. And so let me play a devil's advocate with
Sure.
you, but Anil and Kineta, you all could answer, right? You're asking why. So why, it could be why in the partnership, right? But also, we could also decide we have the same goal, but we could want it for a different reason.
Right.
True.
And I would throw out, why is that even important? And you all can answer. Why even need to know why?
Why know why?
Yeah.
Without a strong why, nothing could exist.
Okay.
Your why needs to be strong. And for me, going into a serious, committed relationship, my why is I don't want to have a child without both parents involved.
Okay.
That's my biggest why. So it's like, yeah, we have a child. That's it. It done. There's no...
But there was a
You
point
see?
in time. You have to be honest with it. There was a point in time that why became very vague at one point based on the challenges that come with the partnership.
That's before kids.
Yeah.
So
So
before having my son, before the whole social media and all of these things, my wife was young when I got married to her. She was like 21 years old, 22.
She was young.
She was young then. Mm-hmm. We've been married going on 12 years now.
still young.
Right. That's
Still
still
young.
young.
She's still young. But what I'm saying is the age. Mm-hmm. I got married when I was like 30.
29, yeah.
29 going on 30. Well, I could say 30 because My birthday was just like
Right.
a couple of days
Which is
before.
also young. But okay.
Yeah. Still,
Yeah.
in
Relative.
comparison
Yeah.
to that age. And her thinking at that point was very immature. And she used to do certain things and expect certain things based on her brought up see. And it wasn't sitting well with me. And I was like, I am not going to put myself in this and stay in this for the rest of my life if you don't change that. This relationship will not continue. And after talk, well, her father is Yoda. You know Yoda from Star Wars? He's Yoda. Buddha bless you. He had to really sit with her and also the pastor and explain to her, yo, some of the ways you're thinking, that had to change. It don't really work so in the real world because what she knew as what a relationship should be. So what she knows as a relationship, the mother dominant. So it's what the mother say goes. And she tried to bring that across here. And I'm a man. No woman ain't going to run me, at all.
Is my mic on?
Your mic
Yes,
on.
your mic is on.
You want to take the floor? Yeah. So that was my mindset there and then. And I was like, yo, this had to change. And after she made the changes, everything was good. And as I said, for me, if I'm doing something, it has to have an end goal. And the end goal is family, making sure family okay, make sure your offspring grow up seeing the right role model. Days where family was doing mommy and daddy together, mommy and daddy doing this, mommy and daddy doing that. That's just it for me. For you.
So as Yoda, the great Yoda said, there's no try, there's only do. Right? And that's one of the most popular ones. I looked at your expression when Anil was saying what he said. Do you feel, there's one thing that in my past relationships, I realized that very strong women or women who come from that background, they don't like the word compromise.
No.
Right? Because to hear that word means that you are giving up something, that you're becoming less than. Do you feel that, it's clearly worked. There's 10 years. There's been a lot of your life has unfolded in
Going
the
on
public
12 years,
eye.
Marida.
Going on 12 years.
Am I correct? Yeah, 12.
So 12 years plus there's the dating period. Do you feel that you have compromised in a way that you are happy with? Because we hear the word change, and a lot of times when you hear change, I realize that that's one of the mistakes that we make because we find a partner, we go into something and we go look at it as a project almost to say, okay, these are the things I like or these are things I'm willing to accept, but then I'm going to change these things. And if those don't change, then I'm going to move on, which I found by you stating that was very mature, especially for a 30-year-old, to look at something and say what you're willing to accept and not and move on for. And for that aspect of it, I'd say good for you because most people just accept and they take and they build up levels of resentment. And then before they know it, there's ways, whether they become apathetic, they retreat, there's silent treatment, there's different forms that they act out, and people don't really take it up and say, I'm making a decision. But I want to come back and really ask, are you 100% happy with the fact that you can allow Anil to live in his masculinity and then you are now comfortable in your femininity?
So I have to say that if I did not make the adjustment, the outcome may not have been one that would be expected of me. Based on, even though, yes, I grew up in a household where I was told to be very strong, and I have that mindset, and most Caribbean women, that's what we're taught. We're taught that, you don't ask no man for nothing, don't listen to what a man... Hey, I'll let you talk, I'll let you talk.
All right.
Right.
That's true, eh?
You don't listen to what a man have to say because at the end of the day, a man could do this, that, and based on past experiences, all of these things that happen to women, they put that on a young woman as she's now entering that commitment. So I had to make a decision. The choice was either, okay, keep this up, and what that would look like was I was very verbally abusive, I was physically abusive, I was vindictive, and that could have looked later on in life if Anil just put up with it. Resentment. And what we have today would have never existed. So I had to make a decision for me to say, here's what, I am a woman. That me submitting to my husband doesn't mean I'm weak. Understanding what true submission really is.
You could just say that again?
Me submitting to my husband doesn't mean I'm weak. And in me understanding how to submit, things changed where any decision he was making, financially, anything for the family, he has to come to me first. Not because I said that's what you have to do. It's because the relationship now became to blend the way it should. And I'm a big believer on God. So as soon as we start to put God there and what God wants for us in the marriage, I started to see now a man no longer just saying what he have to say. He would now come and speak to me about all the different plans, the things that he has in store for us, just like that. So I saw results started to happen.
Where do you think that comes from, Kineta? The whole don't let no man tell you what to do. Is it because it happens so often? You hear it in so many environments. And then on the flip side, sometimes you hear where women just become overly submissive, but submissive in a way that they don't have the independence. They don't, from a position of weakness. They're not submissive in the way that allow the man to be the man of the house, and not in a domineering way, but in a way that understands a man has a role to play and a woman has a role to play. And if a man plays that role as what a man should be in the positive sense, it allows a woman to be a woman and to be in her natural role. But outside of that, we have so many times that there's almost this traumatic conversation that happens. It's either a woman is raised to be dominated or just not say anything at all, or on the other way, don't let no man treat you like that. How did you guys find that? How did you get to that? Because like you said, you made that decision.
Yes, I made that decision. And it goes right back to the goals that he has for the family. So what your environment is more powerful than your will. And I know we all know that saying. And I believe that in a household, if that is what a child grew up seeing, it's going to be very easy for that child just to grow into their adolescence, into young adulthood, carrying exactly whatever they saw in the household. So we made a decision as well that when it comes to arguments, anything that we disagree upon, we're not going to display that type of behavior in front of our son. Even if it is that we're heated in the moment. And there are moments that I slipped up and he slipped up and we had to remind each other, yo, remember this is what we said. Remember this is what he's going to see. This is what he is going to now take as an example and take into his adult life. So it's being mindful all the time how you speak, how you behave, certain body languages, because children are not stupid at all. They pay close attention to everything that's happening and they do adapt to suit. So speaking from my household, how I was brought up, for me, at first, I felt like if I was weak, to allow my husband to lead. How do your parents, because sometimes I've seen in relationships when the woman then makes that decision, the parents almost look down like, look, you see,
Correct,
she now
that's right.
cooking. She's now doing this. She's now doing that. As opposed to...
It did happen. For my father, however, he really encouraged it because he believes that Anil is definitely doing what he needs to do as a man in my life. There are parts of Anil that he had to work on as well over the years. Not as much as my personality traits, because I have some very strong... they say red woman.
Hercules.
So it's Hercules. Yeah, sometimes I feel like I'm more strong than him. And I think as women, we believe that a man would not retaliate, or he should not retaliate. So we feel we have the upper hand. So I would have done things in the past where I would push his buttons. Let me see if he'll do it. And when I push a button at a time that I should not have pushed, I realized, wait, no, this is just my wrist. he just held on to my hand. And I was like, wait. I was like, okay, Kineta, stop lashing this man, because he just hold your wrist and you could tell that you're not as strong as he is. So stop hitting the man. And I don't know why as a first response was physical, but that is where I came from. I came really far.
That's what she saw.
Yes. So as you asked Kineta where she got that from, so for you, Anil, maybe what about your upbringing or maybe your personality or your life experience were you able to stand your ground?
I just always stand my ground. Stand for something or for anything.
But why? What maybe in your development? What about your personality? Why you like that?
But not just stand your ground, but also not take it to a level that became.
Correct. Yeah.
So in other words, you still were in control.
Yeah.
So I was very aggressive as a child. I used to like to fight. And I know she can't fight with me. On top of that is a red woman. And the first thing, once a woman cry in front of a police officer,
Done.
that's it there. And when they're good looking, we already know the law does function. They don't want to know if you're right. They don't care. You go and get back.
No questions asked.
So at times I would just walk out the house, just leave. At times she felt a knife and it stabbed the fridge, bang. And this is in the earlies.
Yeah,
When
to
I
give
come,
context, you're just making it sound like if I just like a mad woman just pick up a knife and like.
Nah, we didn't think that. We knew it have a context.
all right.
I don't know, I don't know.
Context. We had an argument about something, and back then there was times she used to hit and she was real verbal. So I locked the bedroom door.
And that was the
yo,
problem.
just leave me alone for a little bit. It's going too far. You cool off, I cool off. So she's taking a knife to try to pick the bedroom door, trying to pick it. And she couldn't get in. You're laughing. We're laughing.
I laugh because it's something like these thriller movies you
She tried
see.
to pick the door. She couldn't get in the door. Then after a while, I just see a bang outside. And I crack the door. The knife stick in the fridge. You ain't buy nothing. You can't meet everything here.
Hold up, it's not happening all over again.
All right.
Relax.
I just go back and say, yeah.
Yeah. Trauma.
Yeah. And I just get up, I watch it, and just walk out the house. I just started walk. And I had to take a while before I go home. I had to breeze out. When I went back, I was like, if you don't stop this, will this ever happen again? We done immediately. It are no ifs, it are no buts, it are no maybes. It have no going forward. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. It done. And probably the time I take away, it gave her time to think as well, and then that. But that's what she grew up in, that's what she grew up seeing. So this is why she say, environment and
Yeah.
it has a big part to play. So she believed that baby was okay. So her mother and her father, they're not together. But the father is the songhead one. He, will go and talk to him and he will yoda down the place and get her to understand, you can't do this that way, you can't do that way. And then going to the pastor, biblical standpoint, this is what the Bible says you should and shouldn't do. And my wife is a very intelligent woman. She not stupid at all. She understand God first and mankind after. And she's like, okay, cool. Let me do what needs to be done.
So
And
is it that because, again, your parents aren't together now, and one was clearly the mother was more dominant.
Mm-hmm.
So is it that you've seen how that panned out, and
Well, to me, she's very successful. So me, it's like, okay, if a woman just, could put her foot down and say, this is what has to happen in a household, to me, it's like, okay, I want to be like that. And that really is what shined like gold for me, personally. I felt like a woman standing like that, tall, without having a man to say anything to her. To me, I felt like that's very powerful. It's only as I entered a relationship with a different mind of a man, because I realized that there are different type of men.
it's a man and it's a manico.
Different type of men.
Right.
And he is not one of those men that I can push around and I can tell
a man's man?
he's a real man. So,
The deep voice.
shut up, Anil. So for me, I had to tell myself, like, is either this or that. So I made a choice of, all right, okay, he gone for the walk, because that day I actually did think clearly on, is it worth it? Is all of this worth it? And I think when you see your partner, the person that you choose in your life, is able to provide for you in all aspects that you need, not what you want, but what you need, you have to make a decision. So factually, in the world today, you're not going to find many men that will accept a woman that doesn't come with a lot. Yes, you could come with your education, all these different things, but financially stable. A lot of men today look for a woman that is financially stable. They're not looking for a woman to help build her up. It's very rare you find a man today,
So
in
you want
today's
woman want
society.
to be taken care of. Is that what
Most
we-
women love to be taken care of. I don't think that women get up and say, you know what, I don't want to be taken care of at all. If we could find the perfect man that would be true and honest and loyal to us and committed to everything that he says he's going to be committed to, by all means, I think every woman would be happy to have a man that provides that way. I have my thing, you have your thing, but you don't come and ask me for nothing. And that's what I have from the get-go. He never once came and say, I have this bill to pay. How much you could give me?
So
That never
that's
existed.
striking a little nerve, right? Because I've experienced it before, where you are really doing the best that you can. You know, you work hard, you put the honest living, you hustle, but sometimes you don't, and it's not you're not meeting the bills, Anil or Kineta or Johan say, it's you're not meeting what might be their expectation.
Correct.
Right, because in their expectation, they may want, say, a $60,000 income, but you are still earning a good living, but you're not 60,000 worth, and they can't help. That's what they want. But as a result of that, we talk about toxic masculinity, where in the absence of a woman looking at a man that's providing in all areas, they go into their masculinity, which is then toxic because it's not their natural state.
Correct.
And especially when it comes to children and they want to provide and they're not seeing the person in their life providing what their standard, what they deem as their standard, they act out in a certain way. And therefore, they, in many ways, the levels of respect becomes eroded. And I'm saying what happens in your case, it worked that whatever your level was, that Anil checked all those boxes
Yes.
and more, so therefore you were always allowed, or you were within, to be satisfied to remain in your womanhood.
Yeah.
And that you had a man who really, in levels of maturity, knew what he wanted and what he was willing to accept in that level of control. And I'm just going to segue for a minute to say that most men I know, you just kind of flutter. You know, things not going right. You're in that relationship. Some go out and cheat. Some take to alcohol. Some do different things, and it's just you're not willing to make that choice and say, this is not working for me because there's love, there's all sorts of other things, and walk away. You knew, listen, yes, I love her. Yes, there's these things in line, but I know what I'm worth, and I'm not willing to accept these things moving forward. So I wanted to put a pin in that to come back to with that, because I wanted to make sure and note that. What happens then when your standard is, say, a woman is, say, 60, you're doing what you can for 10, and you're just living in an environment now where that woman's just not going to respect you. And it's not something that you could you control.
I really believe it's important for a man to know the woman that he chooses. So for me, I am not a materialistic goer. You could try to bring the moon down, that wouldn't impress me. You see your heart, you see how you consider me, the lengths that you will go for, you'll cut your nose off to spoil your face. For me, that's the kind of man I have. Oh my God, I'm very emotional.
Don't cry, you know.
I
You
try.
like to cry.
I know, but that's what I have, and he's willing to. He didn't care. I say I want to be with him. Things wasn't looking good on my end with my family agreeing with the relationship, and he's like, "Gil, you don't worry, you know, I have you, you know, I have you," and I knew I didn't have no big balance in no bank account, I left home with just what was on my back. I didn't take anything else. I say, hey, we're going to do this thing. We're getting married. And I am for this. Now, mind you, all the drama started to happen after I made that agreement of saying, okay, I'm going to follow this man. But all of that's what I saw from the beginning. And that's what made the difference with the relationship, because I don't have that high expectation of things. I don't have a listing of lifestyle that you need to treat me. Because I could have all of that and behind closed doors not be treated well. And that's where the toxic could come in, where a man could step and say, well, all that thing that you think you're getting there, you feel it cheap, and then treat me how he feels it's right to treat me. Based
And you
on
accept
he,
because you don't...
Correct. And then because not having that value, that high value within myself, I would look at it as, I don't want to give up this, because where I go get that again from? What other man's going to give me that? And then you put up with a lot of toxic things in the relationship where verbal abuse is concerned. It could be physical. It could be using the finances against you. I didn't want that for my life. I don't want that at all. I don't even want that for any woman. But you have to choose the right man, because there are some men that will use that power against you.
And abuse.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a short break. We're talking about the power of partnership, and talk again about loss, love, and laughter, and how this works.
So this is manhood, and the topic is the power of partnership. And the main question is how you, Anil James, could stay sane with a red woman for all these years.
24 hours.
24 hours, whole
7
day,
days a week.
all day.
That is if you're really
Every
still
day.
seen, eh?
Aha! Yes, I have to laugh plenty, boy. If you don't laugh, you go cry. Because, brother, a lot of persons, they are in relationships, but they don't have the privilege to be with their partner 24 hours a day. And because we work together, it's whole day, all day, every day. And a lot of times people think you would not bump heads. We bump heads a lot, because you don't have a break. And she would want things to go a particular way when we working, and I'd be like, no, this is how we're going to do it. Because if we do it this way, I going to get problems in the back end, because I have to do this, that, and the other. And she adamant it had to go that way, and it would be a whole... Until we decide, okay, we will try it your way, we'll try it my way, and then we'll move forward. So...
You know what's in there? You know what's in there? There's a respect of, with all of this, even though there's disagreement, there's a respect that, one, you realize where there's a limit. One person is then willing to then step back at that point, because is, you know, they say two man crab
can't live in the same
hole.
hole. I'll tell she that.
So
She know how to preach that.
If two persons keep pushing, at one point, if two people are going at 80, there's only 100. So somebody have to be at 20, somebody have to be at 80. And it seems that even though there's steam, at some point, one of you realize, okay, let me pull back, and whether you, Anil, allow Kineta to say, let's do it your way, and vice versa, to get the mission accomplished, rather than just keep going at it. Because if you all didn't have that, which is the je ne sais quoi, as far as I'm concerned, that makes it work, then it'll just be volatility all the time, and you won't be working.
Well, what Kineta said before, she said it's important to know your woman, right? And I think that's important, because when she said it, I was thinking back even on some of my relationships, and the one that didn't work, right? I wanted the person to be something that I wanted the person to be, right? So I'm using a personal example, but also in the...
Yeah, like the shirt that you wear? Right. I just asking if you...
He went there.
Good.
And
Look
and
like
even
Farmer
in the...
Brown, eh?
Oh gosh, really
I
should.
just come to mind. I'm real sorry, boy. I like
That is
this.
all right, I
I
take
like
it
this.
now.
Sorry, good.
Even in my profession, even with dealing with men and sometimes with couples, what I often see is, and this both from the man and the woman, is that the man want the woman to be something, and the woman want the man to be something, and it's something that they're not. But what happens sometimes is that person try to be somebody else for that person. And if you're trying to be something you're not, there's only so much you could do with that. Right? And that's important because all of us come from a different background. So we have a different sense of things. Right? And I use the word sense because sometimes when somebody don't do something you want, you say, well, you are no common sense. Right? But the senses only become common when two people actually be honest with each other and let each other know. But a lot of people come into relationship with their own preconceived conceptions of what a relationship should be. And it's not to say somebody more right than the next person. It could be just different. But they never really discuss truthfully what it is. So therefore now I trying to mold you in my image and you trying to mold me in your image. And then everything, of course, start to bump heads.
But what about when
Another
you in a relationship or even in life, you, for example, you might come in and say, listen, I am something I am not at that point, but it doesn't mean that you're trying to be that person for Kineta. It could be that you genuinely want to be, say, a better person, or you want to be that, but just your drive or that staying power or your why just isn't enough to take you through. Just like how you mentioned at the start about the fact that children are what's important to keep you guys together and keep that's your why, that's your focus. But sometimes you mightn't have that thing that is strong enough to keep you wanting to make that change. For Kineta, she realized losing you and not wanting that for herself was her why to change. But in many relationships, that's not strong enough.
True.
Because the person don't stand the ground. Right?
That's true, you know.
And that's
You pull it off my tongue.
right. So you go ahead. You go ahead.
You go ahead.
No,
He's the expert.
He's the expert.
So
He's the
I
expert.
think
Well,
he
listen,
was true.
everybody's an expert in their own right,
Fair.
right? And so I saying that because even thinking about it, Kineta, you said it. You said some women. This is what you said. Some women think that a man wouldn't retaliate, right? And if you know, they saying we Trinidad have we saying monkey know what tree to climb. So if a woman know that a man wouldn't retaliate, then she will have the propensity to do whatever she wants, and vice versa too. If a man know what I could do this for my thing and she will still stay, then that would happen. And if the partner don't stand the ground, whatever it means, and stand the ground don't have to be anything violent. It could just mean these are my standards, or it don't even have to be standard. These are my wants, not even needs. I want these things from a man, I want these things from a woman, and this I'm not accepting otherwise. But when people don't stand the ground, that's where the problems come in.
Correct.
And another thing too, what I realize, because a lot of persons reach out to us, for counseling, we need counselors. Women have a tendency when they're upset, they need to talk about things immediately, forthwith.
No.
And a lot of, no. And a lot of times as men, when we upset, well, I can speak for me. I don't like to talk about anything. Allow me to come down from wherever I'm at, and then we could have a conversation. And a lot of women, I realize, they can't just leave it alone until later. They had to deal with it now. So, women, from a man, if you're looking on, it takes two persons to have a conversation. And if the other party is not in the right frame of mind to have a conversation, just leave it and then revisit it. Because that has caused real bacchanal.
That's easier said than done.
Correct.
That's
Okay.
easier said than done.
Maybe Kineta give some advice. So while the man
So you
cooling
give your
down,
advice now.
right? While the man
While the
cooling
man
down,
cooling down,
what the
okay.
woman should do.
So don't look at it as him dismissing you. And I think that's really what affects us the most, is we think we're being dismissed. We're not being heard. He's not going to come to talk to me. I have to go to him again to revisit it. And that becomes very frustrating and overwhelming. Men, if you say you're going to come back and revisit. Give her that reassurance. I feel as women, we need to be reassured regularly. That's something that has to happen all the time. I know for my husband's sake, he doesn't like it sometimes, but we need that reassurance. Yes, we are married to you. Yes, we know we're committed. Yes, all of these different things. It's so much years, but we still need to hear the reassurance.
Look, let me ask you.
Thank you for being honest.
Thank you.
Both of you.
We're going to get to more honesty just now.
Oh, Lord.
When you talk about, so one of the things that people, men say, my home is my castle.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people come home for peace, but also allow themselves, like at work, there's other areas of, so if you need a reprieve from work, when you're at home, you want peace. If you're at home, sometimes things are a little rough at home. You're at work, you get your moments of peace or to exhale in certain cases, or gym, or all these other things. Where do you get that? Because if you're 24/7, working, home, all of that, where's your moment? Because even in a party, you all are together. So there's like...
I'll be real honest with you.
Yeah.
I just take some long boy. I will sit on the toilet long and play game and just clear my mind and think about all the things I need. I just recenter and refocus on the throne, and then I get to go after that.
Not only these
Or I'll watch, or late in night I probably watch some anime and stuff. And
But Anil, I saw a video, even that Kineta...
yes, brother.
Even that...
Not sacred. Oh, Lord.
Excuse me. It's been a long time going now.
Wow.
And I don't know if he notices when he does it, because every day it's the same old. We are together 24/7, literally. When Anil comes home, as soon as he enters, the couch is right there. He sits in that one spot on the couch for a while, and it's as though he defrosts. He just sit down and melt into the couch for a while, and he's playing some game on the phone, and then from the game, he will get up, and then he will start to have conversations with other things going on. But majority of times when he gets home, he disappears in that little space.
Men are creatures of habit.
I'd be amazed. I do know this. I know this by now. No, honestly, in the beginning, that used to piss me off.
Why?
Because I'm like, yo, we have a son. We have other things. Yes, we work together.
You know, women don't like to see men's lives.
I know.
Relax on
I
the culture.
know.
You know that one.
Ladies, but I had to recognize, and this is through, which I have to be grateful for at the same time. Anil and I, when we have those moments, he at times, not all the time, will be willing to be open and say, this is what's going on with me. A lot of men don't like to say what's going on. They stay closed in. They would not respond. Some of them just shut off. Woman stand up, they're talking to them, and they mute. That is also a sign of disrespect. Those things that he never used to do, those kind of things too. That is something we had to have a conversation about. It's like, okay, here's what's going on. I understand you're in your head. I understand you have a lot on your shoulders. You don't want to throw whatever you're thinking about on me, but in turn of you just locking off, what it's doing to me is making me feel like I'm invisible, like I'm not existent, that we're just roommates in this house. So having those conversations made it easier that when I see him sitting and doing his thing, instead of just coming and I would just say, look at my baby just sitting on there relaxing, and, I give him the moment. If I don't join him, sometimes I would join him, sometimes I would leave him. But I appreciate that he gets the opportunity to just USA. Because I take my USA time.
Yes,
Right.
you do.
Early in the morning when I drop my son to school, I take my USA. I sit in the car for like half hour, sometimes 45 minutes. Sometimes he might have to come and get me because I'm just there in my thoughts and I'm just relaxed. And I think men deserve the same time. So if we give them the time, it will no longer be that knocking, and pointing fingers of what I did today. What did you do today? I tired too, but so that helps for us.
So I want to talk to people, and just to say that right now you're probably listening to this whole conversation, even though you heard about knife throwing, etc., and thinking
Lord.
Kineta is an enigma, right? She's not the typical woman, or as Anil, the typical man, or this is a typical relationship that exists, right? Well, listen to this story, right? Because I'll show you how much more they're not normal. They're not they're not the ordinary, couple that really and truly, I don't know, 24/7.
We have a lot of understanding.
That's it. You all have a lot of understanding. There's a lot of respect. There's a lot of introspection, and deep, which also could come from your faith. and deciding what your why is that keeps you that focused. But it is manhood. It is a podcast. Let's talk about, just before you got married, and the wedding day. Let's have that story.
So, I had an ex-girlfriend. She was very special. That's all I could say about that. She was special. And we broke up on real messed up terms, and she's special.
Sorry, I will call.
And she thought to herself that I would never settle down. I would never get married. And she saw me in the mall shopping for wedding clothes, and it's like, we go and get married. She's like, you gonna get married? You going and get married? I was like, yeah. Where your wife? I was like, she across it. The girl grabs my hand, drags me to the other store with Kineta in it. Watch Kineta up and down so. I hosting your wedding. And Kineta like, what? I hosting your wedding. And she's like, all right. Okay, cool. And she came and she did an awesome job.
No, but wait. I find we just rushing past to there's so many areas to break down.
Oh,
here.
you're going to the Bacchanal.
Not just that, is the fact that a woman's being dragged over to Kineta. It's not, before some hurry hand might have passed because she's a red woman. It's like, okay, well, who are you? Psh, psh, psh. And then on top of that, you accept it.
So
they're just levels that.
You want me to answer?
Answer it.
So when Anil and I got together, sorry. But yeah, when we got together, I was warned. So I was told, you see that man?
You see voice song? I was voice song. I feel for
Real woman.
Yeah.
Real woman. So I was told. And I was like, okay, so maybe that might be the wrong guy to give a chance. But again, the character of the individual is what drew me. He took the time to tell me about all of these ladies from before. Yes, every girlfriend he had, every fling, all the in-between, what he did to certain women that he regretted after, the moments of him walking on the highway crying. I said, what is a lot of drama? So I was like, okay, there's a lot to swallow. And I was like, all right, I accept that this is you and this is who you were, and you decided you want to change. I will see how this goes. And then I started to meet the ladies as time went by. And
some of them she are very good friends with today.
Correct. Some of them I'm very, very good with. And that is, I think that's a level of maturity that not many women get to. And I really think it's because it has nothing to do with what I make Anil do. Anil has a way about himself, as I said, his character. You see his word? He don't mess with his word. And I've seen it time and time again. So I feel confident that, okay, if I'm speaking to this woman, it doesn't mean I'm inviting another woman into my relationship. I'm not inviting somebody who can now potentially harm what I'm trying to build. So I have no worries. I don't feel as though I need to be with my arms up and ready to fight every second. No, I'm willing to be open to hear whatever they have to say, if they want to be wrong or they don't want to be wrong.
And that's because in the beginning, I literally laid all the cards.
All the cards, everything.
Why did that?
Because, of course, our relationship has to be built on trust.
Well, actually, he fasted.
Hold on.
Yeah, did a whole fasting time.
Hold on.
And all that drama.
We don't have to. Me personally, I decided when I wanted to change. For things to change, I had to change what I was doing. So I fasted, I abstained from sexual intercourse for a very long time. I prayed, and then my wife comes. So aside from all of that,
Just part of the fasting is you had to confess? You had to let her know.
I feel like it
No.
happened.
As I said, me personally as a man, if I am going to get into a serious relationship, if this is where my mindset is at, I have to put my cards on the table, because I would expect the same of you. And I know women are very tricky. So one of the things I did with her, I would ask her the same questions, different ways. And anytime she slipped or it vary or it change, I already know.
I didn't even know
Don't
it was
even bother.
happening.
But for me, I know what I wanted, so this is me. So when it comes to meeting an ex-girlfriend or somebody I was involved with then, you have nothing to worry about because I already tell you this is this one, this is that one, and you know where I stand.
But as a man, do you think that we have double standards?
In what way?
In the fact that you are laying all your cards on the table, right? But what would have happened if it was the other way around?
Well,
You're fortunate, but I'm saying what would have happened if it was the
If
other
it
way
was
around?
the other way around with her laying her cards on the table,
Yeah.
I expected her to do the same. So what I did, I asked questions about her past relationships in different ways over and over. So if it vary or it change in any
No,
form
but
or
if
fashion,
it was like your past,
Or
we
mean-
know it's not.
or meaning to
but I'm
say-
saying to you, if it was,
if it was no different, a man and a woman completely different. So I ain't going down that road at all. If it was like how I was very promiscuous. And I'm not going to do that because it's completely different. Let me be real with a man and a woman.
Okay. Now, before you said, when I asked why you laid your cards on the table, and you said, well, of course, if I want. But of course implies that it's obvious now. And I don't think it's obvious in the wider society because
No.
I could tell you, growing up, the advice I get from elder men was, you don't ever tell your wife or your girlfriend everything. And I used to say, that don't make sense. It's better you tell everything. But it's like, no, I'll tell you now. And that's the advice I heard growing up from the elder men. And then even when I looked at relationships, that's what I saw. So I'm saying, I agree with you. You should lay everything out, But that is not obvious. That is not, at least in my experience, personal and professional, that is not what men generally learn and hear.
but is it
I really
ammunition?
think- I
Is it then
think-
ammunition that you could then throw?
So that's that is very correct because you're coming with there. And I think that's why men don't say anything.
Well,
Because a lot of women tend to use that as ammunition.
For me, trust is everything. You see your name, your word, and your bond, that's it. So if I'm coming to you, I'm coming to you from a genuine place. This is me. What you see is what you're going to get. And if you're not cool with that, it's okay. But this is what it is.
But this is where you're at, Anil, in your particular space of life. And Kineta being, 8, 9 years younger than you, at that point, if you're where you are in your chapter, and she's where she is in her chapter, but may now aspire to be where you're at in terms of loving your energy, loving what you're doing, loving where you're at. But again, the why at that point either isn't strong enough to continue or it may change, right? And in doing that, your trust and the way that you are, you're still along that same path, but Kineta could change over a period of time. And that's where things like heartbreak comes in, or the sanctity of the environment starts to break down because you're still along your path. But because we're all human, doesn't mean that the other person continues along that same trajectory. And I'm coming back to the fact that you all have been fortunate that your why at the center, of course, God first, continues to, I think, is what makes the magic of the continuity of the marriage, because you have a focus that hasn't wavered.
Yeah.
But the chapters can continue to change as you go along.
Well,
I don't think you use the word fortunate, right? But what I'm hearing from you all is not luck that you all
No,
working
it's a
on.
lot of-
It's
it's
a lot of
work.
intention.
It's
It's
job.
a lot of
It's a-
work, but
it's
the
a
why is
job.
what I'm saying remains there to want to do
No.
the work, because there are many relationships that while that person, you are in your chapter at that point and you may decide, listen, I want to go and party, you might be in your chess playing phase or dominoes. And it is because there's a why that allows you to push through, whether it be 2-3 years past that, where you can then come back.
Well, I would say in our relationship, I was bitten properly, where in a case where even though yes he has strong whys and he would have expressed that with me and I would see his vision, before we actually said I do, I had an experience where I thought the grass was greener on the other side, based on what I wanted for me.
God, but she horned me then, you know.
Well, it
Tell
was
a story,
it was
tell a
like it was a
story.
kiss. It was a kiss, but it wasn't a horn like that. But it was a kiss. But now, why I'm sharing this is probably the reason why for both of us, even though we are 8 years apart, it is very clear to me what I need to do in following through with his leadership, because I had the opportunity to be with the type of man that I always imagined.
The one the mother like.
I gave you 2 taps, you know.
Don't give me 2 tap. Tell the story.
As women, we always have an idea of a man in our mind. And the idea presented itself.
That knight in shining armor.
Correct.
Yes, in
And
Las
all
Vegas.
glitters is not gold. And he was everything that I imagined. Very successful. My mother loves him. He's well known in the company that I was working in. And I'm like, okay, he's showing that he's interested here. Lead conversation. I love to have a good conversation. And ladies, not because a man has have a good conversation with you, it means he's interested genuinely.
Yep.
He held a really nice convo all the way till, minutes to 2 in the morning. And he took the opportunity to take advantage of me in my vulnerable space, because I was very emotional. I was crying, telling him about the story about this relationship and how it's a new relationship. We were now boyfriend, girlfriend, and how the whole drama was going on. And he took advantage and said, okay. He leaned in, gave me a kiss. I did kiss back. But when I kissed back, he then dressed back and looked at me and said, well, you see what you caused to happen. I was like, okay, what I caused to happen? He said, well, what are you going to do about this? I said, well, you're going to have to handle it yourself. And he said, okay, well, you got to go. And I was at 2 in the morning in Vegas. I had to leave the hotel room, find myself a cab, get back to the hotel room I was staying at. Nobody called to check in to make sure I was fine at that point in time. Everybody thought I was safe with him because he glittered the gold.
Predator.
And as I jumped out the vehicle, I immediately broke down. And I knew at that point, this was the man for me.
Calling me all kind of hours in the morning. I sleeping.
Because I learned that he was one that never forced anything onto me. It wasn't that you have to do this or I need this of you. And understanding in the early parts of our relationship where I didn't have to worry about what Anil was doing at the point in time, because Anil will always come to check me. I didn't have to always be on the phone calling him and checking in. He was the one doing that intentional work in the early part of the relationship.
So let me ask you, because I want to, before we go to the break, and Johan said, I want you to chime in here. There's a statistic that says that 80% of women are only will be attracted to 20% of men. 80%, 20% of men, which means that 80% of men are with women that they don't really value at the highest level. They really honed in on to this 20%. So 20% have the characteristics that they believe that they want.
Okay.
So this story alone is saying that what you thought you wanted, what you thought was at 20%, in reality, Anil, in your mind at the time, Anil didn't fall into that 20%.
No, he didn't.
So it took something like that for you to realize that.
And I thank God it happened, because if it didn't happen, I wouldn't be able to see the direction he wanted to take this relationship. I would not have been able to see that. So sometimes you had to get bitten by the snake to realize what you have.
Women, so
You
we
are
come back to
smiling,
women.
you are
Women don't know what they want.
I'm smiling because you use the analogy, I get bitten by the snake, and you know what happened in the garden.
Yeah,
But
boy.
Oh,
I
Lord.
wouldn't go there, but you ask a question in terms of the 80% of women want 20% of men, and then you chimed in with what Kineta said about the idea, and that's what sometimes it is. I think women more than men are fed an idea of what the ideal partner is supposed to be. So of course, if you're fed it from a childhood age, that's what you're thinking, and that's what shapes what you see. So therefore now, that's what you're looking for.
Yep.
And when...
Because your parents are your mentors at that stage.
Yep, they
And if
are.
the world tells you that, TV tell you that, books. I remember I used to read this Mills and Boone book. If books tells, if it tells you that, then when it doesn't present itself in the world, right, it causes trauma. That is one. But two, you'll always keep looking for it.
Correct.
Right. But what is not fed is what the woman's supposed to do to get this kind of man. So it have many women who want the 20% idle man they were fed, but they don't even know what they need to do. If you understand where the confusion now comes in. And I would even go on from the opposite end, because even though men are not exactly fed the same way, right, men still have certain stereotypes of women, right? I'll give you one that I hear a lot. Men would look at a woman and say, she will be good in bed. She look like she good in bed. And then when they actually get, what they expected based on a look now. But it is a look based on some sort of stereotype that may not be a reflection of reality. So that's why I like what you all were saying about saying the truth about things. Because when you lay things out, right, which not always the easiest thing, but when you lay things out, it kind of cuts through some of the conceptions that may be fantasy. Correct. So now you could get down to the reality of things.
And Lord knows I had a lot of fantasy in my mind.
Yup.
I had a lot.
I know you're going to break. When you come back, we'll talk on that.
You heard the man.
This is Manhood, and we're talking about the power of partnership. And we're talking about how unfair it is to men with that last conversation.
Well, Robert said that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I feel for women, when we are treated a certain way in the relationship, due to both parties, because we had our own situation as well. You take one corner, I take one corner. You become roommates in the relationship, in that household. It has to take one person to make the decision to put a nip in that, but put a nip in it, do not continue, cease. If that doesn't happen, the person that really does feel it is the man, the most. Because us women, we have been taught to have a plan. And we have a plan. We put down a plan.
You're fully lip there, Robert. You're fully
No,
lip
we
on
do.
that
We've
one.
been taught that. We've been taught. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We have been taught that. You don't let your husband know the extra account you have. You're putting away a little bit on the side. This is the reality of it. And he in his head thinks that he's still doing his thing for the family. And then one day when you think you're good, you let him know, hey, I real good. I'm done. This is done for me.
You want to say why you watch him like that? You want to say?
Looking at Syria.
Because it's a fact.
I know she accounts.
And I did. No, you know my accounts. But what happened in our relationship a couple of years back, and even recently last year, where tensions were really high with everything that we had to endure.
With the loss.
Yeah. It was tough to the point that I didn't think that we were going to make it. And we were ready to say, okay, this is yours, this is mine, and we don't want to have things muddled up together anymore based on how I thought he was treating me. Not understand that he's going through his own thing on his own, and he's dealing with his own thing the way he knows best to deal with it. And I have an expectation of what I need from him. But because I am so much focused on me and not focused on us as a unit and what he is going through, I'm pulling one way.
You needed comfort. You needed comfort at that time.
I think all women.
But a man is going through
his own. He's going through
that you can't.
And a lot of men are not going to be very open with speaking about their feelings, just like my husband is not very open. Yes, he will tell me, but he's not always going to be in my ear letting me know everything that's going on with him.
Sometimes we don't even understand what we're going through ourselves. It's happening.
So there came a point in time that I did experience that, and I really believe that a woman doing that to a man is quite unfair. Yes, it is unfair for her to feel the way she feels in the relationship, but it is unfair to not recognize that he as well is going through something, or he as well is finding a challenge to express himself, and just look at yourself as, okay, I'm doing this for me. And to me, this is just, in my opinion, it's quite selfish.
But do
to
you
take it from that
recognize
standpoint?
it is okay to feel what you're feeling and want what you want? In other words,
100%,
you
yes.
want that comfort, and you would wish that in this case Anil could be there to comfort you. But do you recognize as a woman that men first and foremost are human? We
Yes.
also have emotion.
Yes.
And that we too at that point, for lack of a better term, maybe not always in that way, but maybe in other ways, want to be held.
Yeah.
Which is why men embrace one another in moments of, whether it be at a funeral or in moments of tabanka or trauma, impact. Men coming together with a brethren, that is someone who you can connect with, and sob sometimes, or just squeeze going through that internal sob, depends on.
Sometimes it's silent too.
And it's silent.
And I've observed that with my husband. I have seen what that looks like when he meets a friend. At the end of the day, in our relationship, it's very familiar having situations take place where many times we just want to be separate from each other. However, because I am aware of these things happening in the relationship, and I do from time to time take in other little podcasts or reading on relationships, I realize that there has to be one person that makes that decision in the relationship, takes action.
Because men bad mind. We will hold
It's
on to
horrible
that.
bad white woman out there too. It's plenty. I have,
Has her aim gotten better, do you
Was
think?
has her?
With the knife? Like,
I hope not.
I have not done that in a long time.
Like, you had me thinking there. As men, this is the first time I'm actually giving it thought. You know a man going through something, you've been through stuff yourself. When you meet the man, it's really a stiff, stern handshake and we say nothing after that. And it's just understood, yeah, I understand.
And that's why I cried today when the guy paid for the breakfast, because I know that's what he was doing. I understood that when I saw him do that with you. I was like, okay,
Justin,
that's
yeah,
just
boy.
his way of letting Anil know, I understand, I feel you, and I hear.
The context.
Yeah, but so we went for breakfast this morning before we came here, and I saw Justin Woodley, knew him from a long time, and get up, see me, we seen, we shake hand, the same stern shake hand, and and we had breakfast, but he finished with his family before us, and he went and he paid for us. We didn't know, and then when it was time to leave, I looking for the bill, and you was like, "Don't worry yourself, your bill get covered." It's like,
Yeah.
well, they give me free food, yeah? She's like, no, your bill get covered. And then, my mind run back at him because he leave again. I was like, Justin, boy.
Yes. In that
Justin,
moment,
boy.
just looking at him, and then it just all hit me all at once. I say, okay, wow.
So this is actually the first time I realized this is what we do as men, is an unspoken word.
Yeah.
And you see, and this too is a lesson, I think, for women understanding men. Because you see how you saw it and it was beautiful for you. A lot of women sometimes have to take time to see the beauty that coming from men, because it don't happen as quick as women.
That's
Right?
true.
And that is actually a physiological, biological something. Maybe someday we could have a little diagram I could explain the difference between a male and female brain. But because women have more connections between their left and right side of the brain, when something happens, emotion does happen immediately. Right? But men, we have less connection between the left and right side, but we have more connections in each side. So therefore, when it happens, it is take time we have to process. A man have to sit down and process. But for a woman, it's like, what going on with you? Why it taking so long? And sometimes even a woman just gets some anxiety. What going on in your head now?
Yeah.
But if you learn, and if that's you knowing your partner,
Yes.
when it take time, you realize, hey, I understand what's going on. And they say that women are more emotional than men. That's not necessarily true, right? Is that the processing of emotions different and the expression of emotions different. And that's why we were saying before, if it is a woman looking for a man to be like a woman, it will always be incorrect. And if a man looking at a woman to think like him, it will always be incorrect.
Because you can't. You could only be a man. You could only be a man, and you could
and
you could
therefore-
only be yourself.
Right.
And what I would say is, when I saw you Anil and Kineta, knowing of loss of a son, was it? Son? I would say that I could empathize with what a woman must go through, but it was really the connection with, as a man, I felt Anil. But again, we're not always in that position where we can say the words, but it is in that handshake, or sometimes it depends on an embrace, that several emotions, I would say, run through the mind. One, and it depends where you are also as a man, like in terms of in a genuine state, brother, I feel for you. I am sorry that you went through that loss. I also then think to myself what that would feel like for me. I also then go back to history with what may have happened to me in the past. And it's all of these connections are happening in that moment. And so it's almost like a mutual exchange of that energy of brotherhood, all in one. So it's not just an innocent or a casual, hey, condolences, brother. It is a whole one. Once it's genuine, it's that connection at that point. And I think, and I believe in energy, and I believe it's that moment that both parties have that unspoken word, which is what your brethren Justin in his own gesture.
You're correct, because as you were saying, you come to the realization to what we men is do, and you brought it up. I thought about a brethren of mine whose wife passed away, and I remember when I went to the funeral and I saw him. I don't think we spoke for the funeral, but when I saw him immediately, I just went up and gave him a hug now. And I remember the energy in the hug. We didn't have to say anything, right? And you both of you all saying it, and even from Kineta, you observing it, helped me to understand, and even men listening and women listening, is that men and women do things differently. And I think sometimes that becomes a little model where everybody trying to do everything like everybody else, versus understanding, you go in general first, men and women do things differently, and then Robert to do something different to your say different from Anil. But each man should be cognizant enough to understand that I do something different, and don't try to do it like another man, or try to what the woman tell it to do or society tell it to do. I know that's difficult sometimes, but you do your own, you. And then when two men meet and they're honest with each other about each other, you could feel the energy. When two men sit down in a room and they are comfortable with themselves, you know the energy. Someday you don't even need to talk.
Which is the space we try to create here, because if it's in a position of, and I could relate in the sense that for my dad, a woman coming to hug you, it's like you're still in your masculine energy. You still have to have that bravado. You're still trying to hold back to a certain extent, and you're like, thanks. There's still a level of comfort, like you feel the connection of the woman embracing you. But a brother coming up to you now, someone who you feel connected, and whether it be a childhood friend, an actual brother, or in any environment, and you see it in so many instances, time and time again. It's not always at a funeral. It can be relationship. It could be breakfast, and in that exchange or that moment becomes so much more sincere, because whatever the level is at, we both understand. Okay, you want to hold your front, but I want to let you know that let that energy flow. This is our moment, and I see you, and I'm there. And in whatever space that, whether it be two macho men, I wouldn't say, outside of macho men, two regular guys, whatever the case may be, whatever is needed in that exchange. Because if I embraced you at that point, and I see you still being a bit distant, then I'd realize, okay, let me just keep that handshake firm to know, hey, I see you, I see what you're going through. But time and time again, you see men come in and there's that embrace. There's a strong embrace, and without any words being said. Because there's no need for words to be said at that moment. It's an understanding that I'm just there.
And And because of that, sometimes that's where the miscommunication between men and women happen. Because if we men could be silent with each other and know what's going on, that'll work for a woman.
No.
But if you understand, as you always saying, understand each other, even though sometimes, as you say, it's still at the little inkling, I still want to talk. But for the most part, if you all have the understanding of it, and even the man from his point of view understanding that, hey, I know I want a little break, but I see she itching, maybe where the compromise could happen. So as you say, sometimes you give me space, sometimes you come in. So sometimes you would say I need to process, but sometimes maybe I know she needs to talk, so I would talk a little sooner than I would want to.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important little balance there.
So like even now, I mean, Anil has been silent, but I know that you get where we're coming from.
Yeah, I listen. The conversation going good.
And what I want to take past is we talk about love, loss, love, and laughter. We've spoken a lot about love in this is what clearly is keeping you guys together, not just love of God, but in terms of love of each other.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it certainly wouldn't have worked out. Definitely wouldn't have gone to 12 years. And to go through that bond is what allowed you guys to get through loss and still stay the course to realize what you have and what you can continue to have, and that there's still a young one in the mix who is seeing all of these things and have laughter.
That's what's keep you sane.
That is
the laughter is what's keep you sane.
Yes.
Because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. You have to
such
laugh.
a real.
And I do a lot of
No.
cry. So
If you don't laugh, you'll cry. And then laughter tends to take your brain off so much of the weight. It's just lighten the load.
I think, you see you're saying that, right? And, I met a couple while visiting the cruise ship that docked in. And he said, listen to me. I love to make jokes like your husband, but I just need the secret of how to get my wife to want to laugh at everything.
He not funny
No,
enough, boy.
ease me up. No, that's not true. But at the point in time, I could not answer him. I couldn't answer him correctly so that she could understand. All I told her was, it's just not that serious. Like, everything don't have to be that serious. That's all I told her at that point in time, because my
Great
mind,
advice, real
my
good
mind was just
advice.
all over the place, and I really wasn't feeling my best. So in the moment, I said, I have a duty to say something, and let me just say something. I was like, just don't take things so serious. And I really think women, when our men play with us, instead of looking at it as he's childish,
No, we are comfortable.
he is
You will only
comfortable.
play with somebody that we're comfortable with.
He is comfortable.
If your husband can't play around you, it means he guard not down. A man would only let his guard down and be playful and fun if he's comfortable with the person he's with.
Yes.
for
And a
thought.
lot of times when moments happen in our lives, as women, we take things really seriously. It could be the smallest thing.
Why is that?
I have no idea.
I mean, I'm not a woman, but
Brother.
from a professional point of view, I could tell you why.
Brother,
Why?
listen
'Cause
to
I don't
me.
even know.
I tried to help my wife out the other day, right? She wasn't feeling good. I bathing she in the bathroom. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I dealing with. On top of that, I'm still working, and I'm trying to wash clothes and all kind of thing. I put some clothes in the dryer, and the clothes shrink. This woman
Put lemons
cried,
in the-
I was
she
about crying. I
cried
was
blood.
It's real cry.
I swear it's the end of the day. I was like, it's clothes.
But his first
I held
way of
in.
interacting with me, because it's not that
I was
serious.
laughing at you.
He's laughing. But I'm not crying because he's laughing.
All right, so I'll tell you from a professional point of view, and I'll tell you what women tell me also, right? From a professional point of view, just what I was explaining before. In a woman brain, as an activity happens, it goes straight to emotion,
Right.
And then it goes back to the activity, then comes straight to emotion. That if I had a diagram, I'll show you literally, it goes
and
like
forth.
this, right? In a man brain, it just go like this, right? So, but what women also tell me is, a woman told me once, she say, when she came for therapy, she say, I really feel women crazy now. A woman tell me this.
Oh,
I agree.
Lord.
I
She
agree.
say, I really feel women crazy.
The views and expressions.
Yes.
So I say, why? Why is saying that? She say, I just feel an emotion. and then feel like emotion from the emotion, and then feel like emotion from the emotion from the emotion. And when she said that, I started to feel tired now. One time I say, but she said, and that's what is going in my head all the time. And especially say when I don't know what's going on happen. Right, so she said, "You see, when men don't say something, my brain." And I know, I didn't show her the diagram, right? But she said, "My brain is just started to do this." Right, so I saying it that way because when she understanding herself, they say knowledge is power, right? And for both men and women, if we understand generally how men and women think, it will help us. And then also now you break it down a little more personal, understand exactly how you think. So you're not saying whether they're thinking right or wrong or good
But
or
even
bad.
sometimes they don't know what they're thinking. As you just said, emotion to the emotion.
You're not lying.
So if they don't know, how you supposed to?
But I could tell in that moment, what I was feeling in that moment is exactly what you were saying. I was bouncing off just the emotion of the emotion. So the emotion was, I'm not feeling good. That's
Right.
one. I'll tell you one thing, you just didn't listen. That is two. It is the first time that he do that with messing up my clothes. And then the third thing is, oh gosh, on my period too. It's like, it's too much. It's just too much. And I just
Right.
had to
And you would take a walk at that point?
So
No, I was like, I could buy his clothes, I could buy back. And then,
But see the logic.
then she ended
You
up
see
trying on
men,
a jacket. And when she realized the jacket skirt can't
No,
fit down,
it's a dress.
She
It's a
face down with her
jacket
in her
dress.
pillow crying,
and you didn't want to laugh?
I was
He
bawling.
did. He bawled.
The amount
laughing.
of people, I did a video and some people was like, "You're wicked."
Right.
And this,
So-
and
so-
that.
so,
I was
Anil,
sensitive. Like,
so I'll say something now that
A lot of women
that
read into it, though.
There's a little bit of a stereotype and a double standard, right? You see how you were saying, which is good advice to tell women, don't take men so serious, right? It's not as serious.
that serious.
I'm going to say the same thing with men, Sometimes, hear them out. Even if sometimes, if you know your wife or you know the woman you're with, even when she crying, it's not as serious.
I know.
No, it's
Right?
not. He know
That's
that.
why I was laughing.
But he
Right.
know that and I know that.
But many men don't know it because once, let me tell you, see the tears of a woman, for many men, that is do something to them,
I was telling you
right?
that.
And a lot of men,
they feel
and they have PTSD also from growing up because many, and I notice this more Caribbean men, right? Caribbean men don't want to see the disapproving face of a woman. And that's how they grew up. So I have to please granny, auntie, mommy. A lot of men grew up with single mothers and seeing the single mother struggle. So
Okay.
a sad face, a disapproving face. So anytime now the wife or the girlfriend have any type of displeasure, and they don't even have to be with them, It is do something to them. It is put them in a serious mood. So now they have to try to change everything to make sure she's happy.
Gosh, boy, Anil, why you wasn't like that?
I don't know.
How much
however, let me add to that. Laughter is also a coping mechanism. And you could be having those same feelings. However, your coping mechanism is to laugh it off. Because
Probably.
by saying, hey, it's not that serious, but you are not dismissing entirely.
No, it's true because he did try to fix it. He did try to fix
I
it.
went
He
and
did.
wet the clothes and hang back out the clothes to see if we go stretch back.
I know
and,
it wasn't going to work though, but
And she's still crying. I say, you know what? After today, I ain't paid nothing. I ain't doing nothing again.
But he did try to fix it. But what happened, what I noticed about myself in that moment, at no point in time I recognized that he was trying to help. And I didn't even, give him any kind of recognition of thank you. Just a simple thank you. I didn't even say thank you. I just was...
You see, and that may be okay, and I use that okay because in the moment you working through, but he understand it's not that he being ungrateful. If you understand,
Yeah.
You're it's not. It's just
Right.
It's just she like the clothes and I ruined the clothes. She's crying for the clothes itself. She not
right.
crying
So
for
you all
anything
have
else.
to understand.
Yeah, we do.
So when we come down to, because we're almost to the close of this episode, and the power of partnership, and one of the things, if I was to list a couple of things that I would have seen or heard in this discussion and realized is, of course, one, your why is God first. And you mentioned that, Kineta, and Anil, even though I believe, because it wouldn't be working if you didn't also believe whether God first, but also once you had a child. Those things for you guys are very much the glue, that regardless of what happens, it is the problem is the problem. yes, there might be emotions involved in that, but the problem still becomes a problem, and none of you are even putting it into your thought. As we said with Yoda, there's no try, there's only do. No one is putting in their thoughts of separation. It always come down to, I don't like this about you, or I don't like what's being done, as in the problem, but it's not in your head of, I'm looking elsewhere, I'm going to leave, and vice versa. And to me, that is the power of your partnership. There's that respect, and there's that why is, I am not going anywhere. And whatever is happening, it's going to be resolved. We are going to move past it, of which many relationships don't have. Because there's a why not, and there's only a moment. When we hear this topic, this conversation, people say unconditional love. There's always a condition. In your case, I still believe it's conditional love, but the condition, what makes it powerful, is what you have as your why, which is God, and that belief, which is the fact that you've said it for your child. And without that, there would be conditions. And if certain things aren't being met on your side, you'd have walked.
True.
100%.
Which, of course, a lot of relationships have that conditional love. And as that's not happening over a period of time, as we had discussed during the break, where women may be signing off. You might be in a relationship for 10 years, but 3 years into that relationship, they've already slowly started to sign off. Resentment starts to build up by these same things that you're not having a discussion about, by the same things you're not communicating about. And it's non-negotiables. But because you're not mentioning it, or you might be in your bad mind and deciding, whatever. In your mind, you might say, we're going to get past this. I'm not going anywhere. But that might not be how she's feeling, or vice versa. And that's where the erosion starts to take place. And then 3 years later, when one decides, I've had enough because of something that might be very minor. My father used to say to me a lot of times, you're majoring in minors, but that minor thing might be the proverbial straw that broke the camel back. And you're looking at that point and saying, but this is a small thing, we're going to walk away for that. And you yourself had mentioned it, that it's unfair because the communication wasn't there. But it happens so many times in relationships. And people part ways, and what's it called, star-crossed lovers, persons that really, if they had only stayed the course or recognized things a lot sooner, might have been perfect for one another.
I had this conversation just yesterday, and a woman did say that. She did say that she should have took some time to recognize that it's okay to go to her husband. It's not going to make her look weak. It's okay to come and say.
Someone is a counselor,
I think
but I think that's a part, and you said it at the start, where the submission and what you understand by submission, and whether it be from a Christian perspective or just in general, that submission is really allowing both parties to be in their element, both parties to be in their natural state as a man and as a woman. And once you're allowing that to happen, and you're now just adding value, it allows then for the perfection. There's this book by Khalil Gibran called The Prophet, and it talks about persons coming together, and we always say, oh, that's my better half. But in reality, it's supposed to be two wholes coming together to add value, to make both parties even better, and not adding something to what you're saying is then someone is in lack, and you're bringing something. That's almost like trauma bonding for the most part. And in your realization of you at the start, Anil, talking about knowing what you wanted, and if you didn't get that, you were going to walk away, which wasn't a big ask in terms of understanding what you wanted for yourself and from a woman, and of course for your son to see, and you recognizing that
I think
he really was the 20%.
Accountability with your actions is important. So once you can step aside and take accountability in the discussion, what is being brought to you, instead of standing on the defense.
Instead of being in victimhood.
Yeah, that whole victim mentality, it does make a big difference. And as a woman, we're not always right. I mean, yes, we are we are of the two
Say
sexes.
say that again so we could.
We're not always right, ladies. We're not always right. It was nice.
Well, Anil and Kineta, thank you very much. I appreciate you all bringing your honesty, right? And you all didn't try to paint a picture like it's perfect. They don't have the ups and downs, because ups and downs to me is part of it.
It's
So
part of
I
it. Our
appreciate-
relationship is another job that you have to work on right through.
I
And another
appreciate you all
person's wanna
sharing
work.
that. And one thing I'm taking from you all is that it's serious, but not as serious.
It's
Yeah.
not as serious.
Right, and I'm saying it that way because me thinking back, I think there is some mistakes that I make. It was a little too serious, you know. As soon as they become a husband or a boyfriend, or whatever, it become this thing now, right? And for me, I kind of lose some of myself in the relationships because I was becoming something that I think it should be now. So I appreciate that, and I became too serious. So it's serious, but it's not that serious. And even with the differences and shrinking the clothes and things like that, you could still laugh about it.
Our material will shrink.
Oh Lord. Why?
This is my brethren, you know, right? This is my brethren.
It does.
You know what you
This
just
does-
you know what you just did there? It does. That's exactly how we go at it all the time.
All the time.
24/7. So when people see our content, they ask, you know, I like that skit you did. It's like skit.
What skit?
What skit? It have no skit. It's just us being us, and whoever take out the phone first, capture the moment, that's the person that win, basically.
Because you see what he just said there, and about you saying about the skit again, it's the respect and the understanding that when he's laughing, he's not laughing in a way that is to hurt you. It might be his coping mechanism as well. And you see, when you're crying, it's not necessarily something that she's going, hey,
No.
you are hurting me. It is her coping mechanism.
I
and
cry, yeah.
and in the same way, when I but again, knowing that understanding is purely because you know you love one another. And when he said as my brethren, he knows when I say something to him is really tongue and
Exactly.
cheek.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
kicks.
Exactly.
I'm not really trying in a way to insult
Listen to
him.
me.
And I think-
the amount of people read in to some of the things that we post and
Yes.
they project in the comment section is like, yo,
Not that serious.
Like, how you reach there?
Because it's where they're at.
Because it's
It's
where
not
they
where
are.
they are.
And again,
It's
remember
not
I was saying
there.
it's serious, and because a lot of people take it too serious now.
Yeah.
So again, it's serious, but it's not as serious.
Yeah, boy.
The way Kineta, you said, I am submitting to my husband, and that's not a form of weakness. There are going to be people that are going to go submit
Submit,
because
yeah, man.
it is where they're at, and they can't see that for themselves because they don't share. They've not been able to experience what you're experiencing. And when they get there, hopefully, I hope for them that they do feel, they do get to that
point,
level and
yeah.
that point of understanding and commitment. They will then understand what you're now here trying to say. And until that point, people may see how Anil says something to you or vice versa and say, oh, that's a toxic relationship and all of these other things because they're sitting from their smallness.
Yup.
They're
Yup.
sitting from their misunderstanding and what they're feeling.
Yes.
And people can only really, remember we said it, you can only be yourself.
Like, we reach a point in our lives with social media when we see the weird out the time in comments, block and delete.
Just keep it pushing.
Block, delete, and keep it pushing because you don't understand our dynamic. Now you're coming to try and create an issue that isn't there to now try and feed other persons like you, however you are in your relationship. It's like, why you want to start this? Block, delete, keep it
Trying to
moving.
plant a seed
Yeah.
to say, well, no, what you're accepting must somehow be wrong. Why? Because it's your dynamic. You know?
It have some people allergic to happiness. You know?
Oh, cool.
Right?
Let me
You
shake
didn't
your hand for that. Let me shake your hand for that.
He didn't lie. He didn't lie. He
It
didn't
have
lie.
some people like that.
And some years ago, I heard that already, but I've never really seen it. And some years ago, this is a few years ago, you know, Pharrell had this song, Because I'm Happy, right? I remember we were doing some work with some children, and we were playing that song for the children who experienced trauma, so they could get some joy. And I remember somebody coming and saying, but I hate that song. So I say, so why are they playing that for the children? I say, but I mean, I shouldn't even have to explain that for somebody,
Right.
you know. And then I really sit down and I talk to them, and every little thing, everything that you think does bring happiness, why the sun so bright, right? Why
What?
the thing, you see all them flowers, and I'm saying, but every little thing that we have for happiness, this person was
Allergic to
angry
her.
with now. Right? Now, of course, that's because of what they went through in life. But I say not because, and I'm glad you all said, you all know what happiness you all have. And you're not allowing other people outside. And I'm saying this to people too, whether you're in a relationship or even for you, sometimes people come from the outside because of what's going on with them, and they're trying to take away happiness. They don't want to even see you laugh. What are you laughing for? Right? And they want you to take things so serious. So again, it's serious, but it's not as serious.
In the beginning, though, she used to read the comment section.
It used to affect me in the beginning.
Break down crying in tears.
Yeah, it was
like,
hard.
why they could say this about me? Why they could this and why they could that? I like, yo, you know what you have.
Yeah.
You happy. Why you even taking on what people want to project?
I guess for me, I come from a genuine place. And
'Cause
just
when
sharing
we
my life
post our lives,
genuinely.
it's
And that's
just-
all you
it's
need
just
to
us.
remember. What you're saying is genuine.
And some people just could be really cruel for no reason.
You don't pelt stone at full tree. I mean, what's it? You don't pelt stone at barren tree.
Barren tree. She got to a point at one point, she was like, I feel we should just do skits and not post with life. I was like,
It might have
skits
been
are like,
easier.
it might have been easier because nobody could judge you. It's a skit.
Yeah.
They wouldn't see you.
Nah,
they
somebody
wouldn't
will
know
find
you.
a way to judge
But
you.
let me say, because, this has been a very exciting and positive episodes. We've gone way over.
Yes, we
But
have.
but to say that a lot of times we and whether it's be overthinkers, a lot of times people may look at the 2 comments that might be negative. And when I say I'm using it relatively, it could be 2, it could be 20. But we're not paying attention to the 800 of positive.
True.
And the ones that haven't commented, because not everyone looking on comments, not everyone looking on presses a like button.
That's true.
But it resonates. It resonates. Discussions like this today is going to resonate. And if we reach one person who then turns their life, who then stays the course, who then goes to their partner afterwards and has a conversation that takes them to another year, we've done something. We've made something in a positive way, which is the point of this show in the first place and this podcast. So I thank you guys for that. I want to say that power of partnership, what I take away in this reference is God first, respect for one another, addressing the problem, always remembering the problem is the problem. And it doesn't, bad mind is only work when you're trying to push through to get something achieved. So in other words, even though we say bad mind, it's more staying power, it's courage, it's bravery. Bad mind in a relationship gets nowhere. If that relationship is indeed built on love, then giving up of oneself to go to that other person and make a difference and to change that, to continue along that path of love is what's important. So I really thank you guys for sharing, and I want to leave with, in terms of your closing thoughts, it will be in this case ladies first, and then to end with you, Anil, to close the show.
My closing thoughts. If it's one thing I could say, would be have a friendship in your relationship. That makes things easier. When you look at your husband or your wife, that is your best friend. What's yours?
Okay.
In life, as tough and as difficult things may be at times, it always have something to be happy about. It always have that little silver lining that you could pull some sort of joy from. So try to smile, try to be happy. Anytime anybody asks you, how you going? I going good. I going real good. Speak it into existence. Smile, laugh, and just keep the air light.
I don't think we could top that unless you want to.
I don't. Again, my closing is it's serious,
But not as serious.
This has been Manhood, power of partnership, loss, love, and most important, laughter. Johanse, Kineta, Anil, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
This is Manhood.
Manhood, brought to you in part by Lucas Aid and Solomon's Bespoke.